Welcome everyone to our lesson on cultural heritage and built environment education. Today there is probably not a better speaker for this topic than our Stephanie Reiterer. We have known each other for several years, and we have even worked a bit on one project that's called Lost Traces. And this project, I believe, is par excellence way that shows how teaching and learning with cultural monuments in practice is. So Stephanie, thank you so much for agreeing to speak with us today. And can you, for the beginning, please introduce yourself?
So hello to everyone. So yes, I'm Stephanie. I'm an interior architect, but also I'm a built environment educator. And I work with this theme about, I think, 15 years now. I work with kids and children, and I work in the whole field of education in urban planning, in school development, also as in heritage projects and heritage education.
Yes, and as you certainly know, monuments as facets of our material culture can be focal points of built environment education. This is something that you actually do. Yes. And yes, cultural heritage can enhance teaching and learning of curricular subjects, and it can provide great cross-curricular opportunities. It can also transform, as you know from your own practice, very abstract concepts from curriculum and from textbooks, as one of the authors said, tangible realities and intriguing stories about everyday life. So while assisting pupils to appreciate local history, local culture, local monuments, they can also comprehend the importance of historic preservation. And we people working in the field of BE, we all know your project Lost Traces. And I think it really epitomizes the statement that I just made. So can you tell me a bit more about the project? Maybe when it happened, who was included, how long it lasts, and who was involved?
So Lost Traces was a project in the context of the Year of Cultural Heritage in 2008. We started in 2017 with the concept and with the first project, like prototyping and testing how you can work with this project in schools. We have about 25 school projects from 2017 to 2019. We had one big photo challenge as well, and we had about 2,000 kids being involved in this big project. So the main idea was we took the approach from it's called young people and placemaking, Jugend macht Stadt in Germany. So ideas from urban planning, we took them to heritage, and we say, okay, young people can also be the maker of heritage spaces, of monuments. And we said it's about young people and heritage and monument making this project. So that the idea is we want the kids and the schools to go to forgotten places, to heritage, to lost places. We all know that kids are fascinating in some kind of lost places, and they do many photographs of this. And so the idea was to go there and to work there with the kids in their surrounding, to find a place in their surrounding, the surrounding of the school. And we want them to analyze the space, to look about the history, to talk with people, to find out what's this place. Also, what are the European traces of this place? And then we want them to transform the place. We want them to get in some kind of making and activating process. We want the kids to come together to transform the space with art, with music, with light. We want to make some big transformation and bringing new life to the buildings. So this is the main idea, and it's really, we have 25 total different projects, because we had kids from 5th class to the 12th class in whole of Bavaria, also in Italy. We did some in Prague. So it was also an international project. And in the middle of all the different projects, we had some kind of camp format. We've been to Italy, to the Architectural Biennale for for weeks, and also there were people coming from all over Europe and tried to live in a lost caserma, in a lost military space, and we also tried to transform the space. So it's all about activating heritage, about getting new awareness of the places and a new consciousness about the places. So this is the main focus of the project. And also the idea is that the young people can bring new ideas to the places, so they can shape the lost heritage and the lost monuments and bring new life and new ideas to the places. And so often we had the chance to give some impulses to the urban development. We talked to the head of the city. We tried to involve many local stakeholders to bring some kind of movement to the building and try to, to start the process of reuse such special buildings. So so I think it is the project is closed, but the idea we took further and further because it's so important, because we all have to reuse and to think about reuse of old buildings because of the climate crisis. So this is a very important topic at the moment, and we try to transfer all the knowledge from Lost Traces to the future.
Yes, exactly. And what has surprised me, Dan, is actually that it was tightly interwoven into teaching and learning in school. So this is not something that kids did only as a free time activity. And I think the array of classes that covered this topic was from, German language to math to art, of course, history as well. And this was really intriguing. And the second thing that I remember surprised us when we were evaluating the project, it was actually how meticulously the teaching and learning process was planned. Sometimes people that work in, as you certainly know, built environment education, when they start, explaining what they do to the people coming from pedagogy, educational sciences, it can sound a bit chaotic, we did there, we made a few photos, then we draw a map and so on. But actually, in the learning process that was happening through Lost Traces, the accent was on this iterative learning cycle, where one stage of the project, for example, in the form of an essay, of a photograph, or a presentation that children did, inform, but as well initiated the next one. And this is what we also saw, that there was this educational continuum. So if we look actually through the prism of pedagogy, what you did, you definitely relied on the learning process, which was following Kolb's learning cycle, and each competence group was taught through one learning phase. Can you tell me a bit more about the competencies you would like the children develop? Because as I remember, this was also very thoughtfully planned.
Yeah, so we had 4 different competence systems. So we wanted the kids, for the first step, to be aware of what they have, to feel the buildings, to see it, to really to find their own way of getting in contact with the building. And then the next step is the intellectual way of analyzing, of finding out the history, of going one step behind the first contact, and then really find out what is the base of the building, who did it, why, how, maybe what is important. Is the building important for the city, for all the people in the city? So this is the next step going behind. Then there was the idea of transforming, as I told you, some kind of creative a way of working and dealing with the building. But it was not just doing art, it was also writing an essay, as you said, or also doing some kind of really photo documentary of every detail of the building, like an architect would do. So this was based on every age. This was based on the teacher who did the project. This was based on the main on was heißt denn Leidenschaften?
No,
on
you put a really good challenge for my German.
Yes, about the hobbies and the things the young people want to do. So if there are some kids, they want to play some kind of theater play or something, they can do it, or they could do it. If they are playing music instruments, there's also the possibility to do some kind of concert or something. So we want the kids to think about their own hobbies, their own
interests.
Thank you very much. So this was the idea, to get really a personal contact and a personal interaction between the heritage, the monument, and the young people. And the last one was also important because it was the way of going out, of presentation, of finding words for the whole process. And it was really important to go out in the public to show what the young people have done. So we want them to be project makers and to present what they've done. And this is important because then they feel the self-efficacy and they learn, yes, I have the possibility to change something, to bring maybe a building and the consciousness of the head of my city or something. So this is really important for us, getting the last step, really to get a feedback for the kids and to get some also strange word, Wertschätzung, I don't know in
to observe the specific worth of the place, of the process, and of the end product, I would say. Yeah, what was really interesting is actually, and what you are saying is that the learning process was not just factual data about the location, building and history the children chose to work on, but it was also always complemented with their personal impression of a monument, and also their personal interest. As you said, some children like music, so they organized the concert. The others did. I remember in one church beautiful sculptural pieces that could act as chandeliers and so on. And this was very important because in this way they could give this tangible sense of individual learning experience. And what was also interesting is the result of the learning process was personally and lived and personally significant, also physically tangible. Is it object? Is it a model? Is it a performance? Is it an exhibition? So I think this is what the process, but also the end product gave quality to the learning you organized. And as you remember, and as we spoke back at the time, there are quite a few projects like this. However, what is missing is actually the evaluation of it. So what children learn, what kind of skills they develop. Always when we organize these kind of learning processes, you certainly know we intend and we would like children something to learn, but our question the question that we rarely ask is actually, okay, has this really happened? And I think our little collaboration on the evaluation of the lost traces was really interesting, together with Professor Angela Millian. And maybe I can mention just what we found out, because I think that's really significant. So we did questionnaires and we did group interviews with card sorting task, both with children who participated as well as with teachers, because we want to see the both perspectives. And these actually methods were very helpful, and they really assisted us to distill the myriad of competencies that children develop. So from perceiving and feeling, then the second group, as you remember, analyzing and communicating monument-related themes, to, at the end, artistically intervening on site and developing sometimes even designs for the future use. So these projects really promoted a wide variety of competencies, and they were highly enriched learning experience. What pupils very much appreciated is actually the ability to independently assemble teams, so they could organize the ASEM. Teachers themselves independently, teachers didn't tell them, okay, you work with this person and you work with this one. of course, that didn't happen. Also, these were intergenerational teams because sometimes they teamed up with local people from the neighborhood who helped them. They could bring their own ideas. They worked directly with experts, with architects, with urban planners, with historians, people coming from conservation. And they were able to engage with very interesting topics on site. So this is what they evaluated as very positive. So real life learning experience. However, they also had some suggestions, how should we improve these processes in the future? What they wanted to see is actually joined up planning and careful programming of activities with them. So maybe in future we should include them when we start planning the learning processes like this, as well as the educational tools that are sometimes on offer in these projects. They also wanted to see a more intensely social negotiation of heritage with different stakeholders, because they wanted to facilitate the process of monument interpretation. So what is monument for me, in my place, in my street, in my city? And I think this is also very important, because in this way we can also broaden pupils' understanding of what heritage is. Before we move on to our last part, maybe if you have in mind, maybe it would be really interesting that you mentioned just a few projects and what they did. As I said, I remember one dilapidated old church where children intervened, and they, from recycled materials, they made a beautiful sculptural chandelier. Can you mention maybe a few? I remember one which ended up with a tour guide for the locals. So can you maybe just mention a few so people have a sense of what these really projects were about and what the children produce?
So we had some special project maybe on the border between Bavaria and the Czech Republic. This was very emotional for us because there were kids from both sides of the border and they worked together. There was a lost village because of the border. All the people had to remove, and you just found some bricks on the ground, and there were some people living there, and they tried to find all the grounds from the houses, and our kids, they start to look at the plans and to analyze, and then they started to rebuild with wooden
poles, is it?
Sticks.
Pole? Sticks, yes.
Yes. And they tried to do some kind of rebuild the houses just to see that there was a village, and they built in some houses, and then in the evening we had a big party together. We sat all around and they sang and they talk about Germany and the Czech Republic, and this was very emotional. This was just a rebuilding a village, for example. Or in Italy, we had a project also with an Erasmus Plus team from 3 countries, and they opened a church who was closed for about 30 years. And they did some performance, video, photography, and all this. And there were so many people. We also were there. That there is the policy, or how to say, the policy is coming, and they had to close the street because there were so many people who want to go in the church and who wanted to see the inside of the church and also what kids have done. So there were hundreds of people on the street, and it was really crowded. And these are some moments were very special for us. There's some.
So the interest was so high that the police should intervene. Okay, yeah, well, that's a good. Yeah, that's a good educational result.
Yes, and also we had some more analyzing, or some more theoretical projects. So we had some older people, and they found there were 12 people, and they found 12 places of old buildings, and they really do some plans and go in the archive.
archives, definitely archives.
Yeah, and they looked there and tried to find out the history, and at the end was a big exhibition in an old lost small train place. And this is also really inspiring, because
exactly,
it was like a student project. It was really good that they did drawings and photographs and everything. So it was really a big variety of what the kids did.
What they produced, exactly. We will definitely put the link of the Lost Traces project so that the students could explore it further. I just want to ask you one last question. I know you have a new role, and I think it would be really good to tell us what are you up to next, as well as to give us a few ideas. So what do you think could be the next step for developing this field, be in general, and then more specifically teaching and learning with monuments and cultural heritage?
So for B, I think we have to more collaborate with some kind of political education, and also in the field of climate and climate education and this. So we have to collaborate with all the educational fields much more, I think. So this is our way in Germany. And we have to get more awareness of our work. So collaborate with all the educational programs. And at the moment, I'm working on the field of heritage education much more, because I'm the chair of a working group. It's called of the German National Committee of Heritage. So Deutsches Nationalkomitee für Denkmalschutz. And we are a working group from people all over Germany, from culture, from heritage, from architecture. And we started an idea. We should get more awareness of good best practice educational projects. So in October, there will be the first prize of heritage education. In my actual position as the chair of a working group at the Deutsches Nationalkomitee für Denkmalschutz. It's a German national committee for heritage. We want to support best practice projects in heritage education. And the committee is initializing a prize for educational projects from October on, and we are very proud that, because I think this is a good way of getting more support and more awareness of a good educational projects. So this is a really important prize. It's for, I think, 30 or 40 years now. You can get a prize in heritage engagement. And now we have also the first prize of educational project. I think this is a good and important next step.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's very important to put this topic not just on some kind of local agenda, but a really a national agenda and connected to teaching and learning. Stephanie, thank you so much for your time today. As usually, I always enjoy conversations with you, and I hope the students will find this lesson very inspiring. We will share all the details at the end. So one more time, thank you, and we're very much looking forward to see what your new job and what your new role within the committee will produce. Good luck with that, and speak to you very soon.
Thank you very much.